Welcome to the No Concessions podcast. It's called No Concessions because everyone in the world starts a podcast, names it something. That's something that we could keep for ourselves. So it's also part of our event center lineup out here. No Concessions is our chef, which is here, Executive Chef Chris. I'm Justin, and we have 3 awesome bands in here today. It's packed. It is Dude Stacks. Let's see, Tyler. Tyler, what band are you from?
I'm in the band Ashes of Everest, and I play bass.
Okay, awesome. And then the other Ashes of Everest component is here, Jamichael.
And I play vocals.
You play them, okay. And then Josiah, where are you from? What are you doing here?
Phantom Hourglass, and apparently I play guitar.
Logan.
Yes, sir. Logan, I do the vocals for him.
You don't play the vocals?
No, I do them.
Logan don't play when it comes to vocals.
Alistair.
I do guitar for Hollow Light. I'm Chris. I do the food stuff here and also hang out on the podcast.
And over here's Josh.
Josh, I play bass in Phantom Hourglass, and I play bass and backing vocals for Hollow Light.
So you're triple threat right now. Josh is also a talent buyer with us. And Alistair, what are you?
Sound engineer here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it killing you not to be in control of the sound at the moment?
It's killing me a little bit.
Okay.
I'm judging Corey right now as we speak.
Corey's also known as Curfew, who's also a DJ here. So this is a very in-house packed.
It's 6 degrees of monument
Here
in the house. 2 degrees, really.
It's like No Limit Records.
Yeah.
Back in the day. All right, guys. So the reason you're here is because you're coming to play on the 16th, correct?
Yes, that's the plan.
And
Coming to demolish this fucking building on the 16th.
okay.
Why does every band say that, and then they just play a bunch of opens and ones and nothing happens? We'll see.
Not me, bro.
It's also a fan base thing, you know. You get a lot of the metal kids are they get a little bit they're introverted. They come out. The heel rock is about as far as they go, but I have faith in y'all's ability to decimate walls and structures.
This is the support cast, if you will, for the headliner Defending King. I guess you could say that.
No, this is the support cast. As the post on Facebook has stated, this is a cooperative group of talent. Welcome to the couch talent, and we're gonna be hosting these guys coming out. And what's the cause for the evening?
It's the first of Monumental Change series.
Yeah, so Monumental Change is a concept that Justin and I talked about. It's really important for venues, for bands, for the community as a whole to engage with each other. And a big part of that is raising money for causes that's bigger than ourselves. So we wanted to look at what at-risk communities are here and who's doing the good work for them and support that. And there's really no better one than the Winchester Rescue Mission. Not to leave out others that we'll probably see in the future, like the Laurel Center and CCAP and others. But Winchester Rescue Mission was one that first came to mind when we talked about the series.
Very cool. Very cool.
So there's going to be a little bit of delay for everybody who's listening and maybe not watching it because there's 8 dudes in here. So we're passing the mic, literally. So anyway, Tyler, since you're way over there at the end, tell me a little bit about what you two been working on. I think that I saw you had a 2019 single, Blue Whale.
So we got a 2019 single, Blue Whale. We're working on an EP right now. It's like a year and some change in the making, but we're getting it done, dude.
Did you start like during COVID writing a lot together from home and
Honestly,
different places? Or
during COVID, man, it was kind of spotty because all of us pretty much work trade jobs, so none of us really lost work. So it was kind of hit or miss on practice. It was kind of hit or miss on writing stuff, but we got it done, man. We got
so you build things?
kind of, sort of. So I work for the city of Winchester, and I do like water and sewer.
Okay.
I'm on a dig crew, so if you see us digging up the road, it's probably me out there.
Nice.
But yeah, we got big things lined up. We got an EP coming out soon. Yeah, big things. Everybody's got big things coming out. But we're gonna drop this single the Friday before the show.
Okay.
It's gonna tear your guys' faces off.
What's it called?
Degenerate?
This one's called Degenerate.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
What's it about?
PTSD.
Okay.
Is that from working in construction all day? I know you told me you're a project manager by day,
Yeah.
and you have PTSD from this.
No, it's about like people from war getting PTSD. I don't have PTSD.
Do you have veterans in your band?
No, we don't. I just thought it was a cool concept to write about. The whole EP that we're releasing is like a concept album, basically. A concept album, so that's just part of the album itself.
I mean, if you look at a lot of like the elements of thrash metal from the early '80s, like Megadeth, Metallica, Anthrax, Faith No More. I think you guys were talking about this before, but like, yeah, you know, there was a lot of that type of inspiration. Was part of their music. I mean, you look at Metallica 1, for instance.
Right.
You know, nobody in there was a veteran, but they were, you know, playing. They were not playing on, but they were representing in that song. You know, a lot to do with that. So that's pretty cool, man. So you guys, what are your major influences? I mean, what would you say? Like, what's the sound of Ashes of Everest, and where did it come from? I mean, like, you guys were just sitting around one day and we're like, hey, man, we want to make this. We just want to make some like cool music, or
the band got together before me, so it all just I don't know how the music like.
Question: Are any of you from Everest?
Negative.
That's a no. And he's gonna have like a 5-minute timeout on the microphone. So, no.
Hey, make sure you eat your mic a little bit.
Okay, so
It's movable.
several other band members just started playing together and just jamming out, and then somebody just hit me up and was like, "Do you want to scream for a band?" And then that was like 5 years ago. So
Sweet.
and it just starts like that. Just basically how this all probably starts. Somebody has like a concept, they write it out, and then but for the past like probably 3 years, we have like a good rhythm of what we like to write together as a band and what everybody likes playing. It's a lot of compromise. Tinsman likes a lot of like punk style shit, and our drummer likes a lot of like power rock stuff, and I like Meshuggah and shit like that the most when I play. It's like so everybody like compromises a lot, and a lot of stuff gets like thrown on the floor and never picked back up, and a lot of stuff, sometimes stuff sticks, and then
right.
That's when you're like, well, everybody agrees that it's good.
And that's why do you feel that the cohesiveness of those different styles coming together is what brings you guys, success, or do you feel that you hit walls at point in time, or?
Oh, for sure. We argue all the time. I think we fucking me and
3 years now.
Yeah, me and Willie, we butt heads a lot, and everybody butts heads a lot about a lot of stuff. But so when we practice, like we go in there, of course there's like the first hour of practice where it's just a lot of bullshitting. But when we do like actually rehearse our set, it's like, it's an actual rehearsal, and we drill it like, we try to have like good work ethic when it comes to that. So but yeah, you butt heads a lot, and there's a lot of conflicting shit and a lot of egos and stuff, and you just fucking leave and then come back and then do it again, and just try and.
It's a dance, man.
Yeah, it is a lot of that.
When you wrote Degenerate, did you think about the concept before they heard of the music, or was the music something that moved you towards that idea?
So I don't think. So we had several riffs that like we made the song out of several riffs, and then I don't really have like a concept of something, and just finally just listen to something over and over and over again until finally like you don't even have lyrics for it, but you have like a vocal timing that you put to it, and you're like, this is how I'd like this bar to go, and rah 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 rah, and then finally you start piecing lyrics into that, and then you have to do that for a year until you're like, this is I'm happy with it, and then you try not to hate it.
And then we have Logan, you're another vocalist. How do you work? Independent or from a source from music? Or is it colliding? And do you scat or beatbox or whatever as you're trying to find your groove?
Yeah, so, well, it's kind of a unique situation because when I came into Phantom Hourglass, the music that we're working on now and looking to release was already all written. Some of it was vocally written as well, not all of it, but it already had some established melodies and some lyrics and things like that. So a lot of it I had to just build off kind of what was already there, keeping it congruent throughout so it made sense and it wasn't just a bunch of random stuff going on. So yeah, I would say like the instrument part I would prefer to come together beforehand, and then like you said, I'll play it in the car as I'm driving, whatever, and kind of work it out melody wise, and then I worry about the lyrics last usually. It does change depending. We've been writing some other stuff that's kind of gone the opposite way. I have a melody in my head, and then this guy will come up with a guitar part that supports the rhythm or the melody or whatever it is. So it's a little bit of both, but yeah, mostly I prefer to be the music there in advance. Nice. It helps me.
Josiah, you're the silent type?
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet.
Are you writing the riffs?
Sheldon and I, the other guitar player, we have a pretty good writing chemistry instrumentally. And that sort of just happened naturally, which is cool because that's not always something you kind of walk into. Sometimes you have to develop, and I'm sure we will develop that further. But normally he has a more aggressive style and I have more of a melodic style. So that combined is a good mixture for kind of piggybacking off of what's already written in Phantom. Because I joined about a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years relatively. And as Logan said, most of the stuff's been already written as a whole or partially. So it's cool to see the direction we're going in comparison to what it was before. It's a cool evolution of it. So yeah, it's pretty cool to sit down. And it's funny because sometimes I'll send ideas to the guys and I don't hear anything. And that's the best part because it kind of forms the direction.
Oh, okay.
But it's always funny.
You just put it out there and let it.
And how long have you guys been playing together?
So Josiah and I joined at the same time. So the rest of the band members, quite a bit. I don't know. Maybe Josh can let me know about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the band started in high school for our founding members, which is Brandon, our drummer, and Sheldon, our guitarist. They started under a different name, which was 7 C's. Sounded really 90s. I thought it would have been taken by like 100 bands through that era, and it wasn't, but it had to go. So we landed on Phantom Hourglass, which is a nod to our nerdy roots with a Zelda game. And I joined about 5 years ago. And as they said, there's been member changes throughout. Ouster is actually one of the writing guitarists for the album that's coming out soon. Before we gave him the oust, I had to go too, just like 7 C's. But I think the honest answer is every iteration of the band has gotten more and more of the personality of the people playing in it. And with no malice to anyone that's played in the band prior, I think the dynamic that's existing right now is probably the best dynamic the band's had. So for no bad reason, no good reason, for whatever reason, artistically people split ways. The setup for me for Phantom Hourglass is my favorite. And I think it's really conducive to writing the music and the style that we're in. So, as Josiah said, he's more likely to have wrote some of the lead riffs and the chorus lines, the stuff that's really going to give Logan the room and the breath to have catchy choruses and singing parts. And then Sheldon's really going to write some chuggy stuff, some very like Anthrax sounding speed BPM stuff that's going to give Logan the ability to go as low or growly as he wants to go with stuff. So there's just a really good dynamic in the band. And again, not that it was terrible before, but the 2 singles that we released in the mid of COVID, which was Escape and Choke, they were actually ones that we wrote from scratch with Josiah and Logan. And we released them before this EP that we're bringing out on Friday, July 29th. Because we were so excited for the sound that we had found and to get that out there and for us to keep moving. So ironically, the EP that we've got coming out is a long time coming. It has a lot of collaboration from people that were in the band, no longer in the band, recorded with 2 different engineers. We're happy to get it out, but we've already written like a whole other EP worth of stuff now that we have this current setup.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that and kind of speaking to what Jamichael was mentioning as well with the band dynamic, it's kind of interesting because we do have differing, I guess, like tastes in music, but instead of it kind of being a clash type thing, for us, at least so far, it's been more of just a collaboration. So my taste of metal and Josiah's taste of metal, it all kind of combines in a really tasty way. So Sheldon brings some beat down and all of it, and it really comes together really nicely.
Alistair, you were part of this concept also?
Yes, at one point it was.
And you got kicked out?
Bro.
In a nice way. In a nice way. So I got asked basically to walk away from Phantom Hourglass.
Okay.
He's like a young Mustaine.
And so when you're playing in here, the Mustaine, that's what you're gonna be like.
That's a compliment.
Yeah,
That's a compliment.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Megadeth is better
Yeah,
than...
the fabulous hair.
Let's be honest. Yeah.
So to answer it, maybe to create or squash some band beef.
Yeah.
Alistair and I are much the same mindset of music. There's a lot of heavy bands that we like, and a lot of those influences Alistair would write for Phantom, but for it to work cohesively in a song, we would have to lighten something or change it. And it really got to this point where Alistair would write something hyper-aggressive, and by the time it got to an album, it was sing-songy. And that dynamic just wasn't perfect. And there was a lot of riffs that we wrote during Phantom that just sat, again, like Jamichael said, on the J floor, and it never really came about. So when Alistair and Phantom parted ways, it was awkward for me because I'm Alistair's brother. Spoiler alert. So voting him out was the easiest for me, honestly.
Yeah.
But so jokes aside...
He was the first one to let me know.
Yeah. So jokes aside, it's kind of what fueled Hollow Light in a lot of ways. Alistair and I had always wrote well together. We'd always enjoyed a lot of, like I said, like heavy and noisecore bands, stuff like that. And Alistair looked at me and said, well, if it's not right for Phantom, then let's write something. And we pretty much immediately started jamming together. And then we ran into 3 guys that would eventually become Hollow Light with us. And they were in much the same situation. The 3 guys that we're working with in Hollow Light were in other bands previously in the area, and they always wanted to go a different direction. And COVID was a catalyst for everyone to have that opportunity. I'm sorry, are we interrupting you, Chris? Is the microwave going off at the kitchen?
Yeah. Why was it so loud? It sounded like it was coming through a fucking speaker system.
Not to mention, what a nice ringtone.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. He has the most innocent ringtone.
You can't take me anywhere. You know?
I started to tear up. It was a really pretty ringtone.
Yeah, like what's with that?
So anyways, now
I like to be woken up gently, alright?
now that we're crying in the club,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how Hollow Light came about. It was COVID and parting ways of other bands. So Kevin and Kenny, who are other guitarist and drummer, were in a band called The New Rain. And much the same, they had a lot of heavy influences, and The New Rain was a very middle-of-the-road melodic metalcore band. And they started writing some angry shit, and we started writing some angry shit, and we actually just swapped notes one day. Kenny sent me a rough track that they were working on, and he said, hey, we need a bassist. And I asked him who was in the band. I said, sounds like you need another guitarist, too. So then I slipped him some of the stuff Alistair and I were working on, and a week later, we were in the studio together putting together 6 songs.
Literally.
And yeah, I'm excited for people to hear Hollow Light. We're going to release a track hopefully before the show just to get the ball rolling. But we have a whole EP ready and done. And it's just aggressive as fuck is the honest answer. There's no clean vocals. There's really no putting around. Most songs are around 2.5 minutes. They're just what we felt and what we wrote and in a really raw way. And jokingly, I'm still in Phantom. So I always encouraged Alistair to be mad at Phantom. I encouraged Kenny and Kevin to be mad at The New Rain. And I harnessed all that negative energy, and I'm really happy with what came out of it. So, yeah, we've often talked about continuing band beef with other bands that have no malice towards us, just so we can stay hyper aggressive. So for the next album, we'll probably have some beef with whoever I can think of.
You can have beef with us.
You don't want it with me.
You can have beef with us.
All the
That's
smoke.
why I have beef with Josiah here, because we're always snapping each other like bullshit, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this guy, fucking hate him. No, but I actually love him. Oh, well, I'm so sorry.
I'm
But,
taking Josiah over you in a fight, though.
yeah, I mean, maybe he has
He's
some
got nothing to
jujitsu.
lose.
Yeah. He has those Shrek ears. Like, I'm fucked. Like, he can pull on my hair, you know. Yeah,
He's got longer reach.
The ears have probably helped you.
Gusher.
it's like a gusher.
You don't fuck
I
with
like
dudes with
gushers,
cauliflower
though.
ear.
You know how much violence you've avoided just because of that?
Am I gonna Mike Tyson you? Is that what you're saying?
It's chewy.
Okay, back to real talk, guys. You let me listen to Hollow Light. Is that right?
Yes. I did.
Okay, is the vocalist here?
No.
No. Okay. All right. All right. Just making sure. That album or whatever I heard from it. First of all, I love it whenever I get to hear something from someone that's a peer or in common society with me, and then it's not bad. First and foremost, when it's not bad, it's such a relief, because when it is bad, it's very hard to move forward to the next part of the conversation without being awkward and dishonest. So I liked it. I think the thing I liked the best about it is that there's a predictive element in the brain that gets built over time from listening to certain music, and like I anticipated a certain change, and it didn't happen, and then later, it did happen, and that was exciting for me. I don't know. I was just anticipating. I was like, they're gonna do it. And then they didn't. But then they threw it back later, which is fantastic. I don't know. Was that you?
Yeah. So basically. And because anytime I'm in the studio, in my home studio writing stuff, I always send stuff back to Josh, and then Josh will give me kind of his notes on it as well. So it is one of those things where I like to make things kind of chaos and chaotic as possible, like the Andy Williams of things. Like we'll take riffs, fuck them up as much as possible, and then bring it back to its roots. So it's like, fuck it up as much as possible, but also bring it back to less is more, because that's what makes people bop to it, really.
Right.
So that's kind of the concept when I'm in the middle of writing something.
All right, awesome. So far, I haven't seen Winchester's scene, if you even call it a scene anymore. Is it still labeled a scene?
Yeah.
That was a big controversy.
We were talking about this earlier, and it was like, and what I appreciate as a dude is probably like, I'm old enough to be some of your fathers. I might even be one of your fathers. But for real, the cool thing is like I came out here and JT here. First of all, we need to talk about like his credentials to be able to talk about the metal the way he is that this dude's the front man of a, pretty successful band.
Somewhat. You didn't make any money, you just spent money.
Hey, you got your best asset. Your best asset in life came as a direct result.
Oh
of your career.
That's yep.
And shout out Jessica Tenpenny. And for dealing with this guy. The band's name.
It was Gray Sky Eternal. Yeah. And unbeknownst to me, there was a whole group of people in the Middle East who had that phrase, and that phrase was popular on Twitter, and I had no idea why all these people were following us, but like it had to do with the Predator drones not being used on gray sky days. So there was an Arabic thing happening with prayer or whatever for gray skies, and I don't know how the hashtag crossed, but that was really crazy. I know, right? Yeah,
so
it did, and we had no idea what was going on. What were you saying, Chris?
Yeah, let's get back to the positive stuff. And I was talking about how so you have this.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. But
that's amazing. It's awesome that your marriage came as a direct result
of
music
Predator
success.
Drone, Gray Skies.
And unfortunately, that's the name of the premise of the band. But it was probably pretty awesome. I've only seen them on YouTube. I've only seen this man on YouTube, and he's quite honestly one of the funniest and most brilliant dudes I've seen. Just he can just take a camera and within 30 seconds whip out like a funny skit or like something very witty. And I'll jump off this D right now.
It's getting weird, man. It's been getting weird. Okay, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Dude, you jump on.
Thanks. Anyway, it just helps to understand the nuance of how your life is and how dedicated you are to try to get your artwork out there. But I'm speaking to the scene here because I don't know that there is one. There was kind of one in D.C. There's a little bit in Springfield, Virginia, but I never got to spend any time out here watching any music. So do you? Who likes it out here? Like, what's going on with that? You got to give me history.
Defending Cain is one of the, let's call it grandfathers of the area now. Members of Defending Cain were in bands before that, like Tapered Mind and Stuck in Chaos. So they were around in the 90s and early 2000s when nu metal and heavy made a huge resurgence. And Stuck in Chaos was sponsored by Jägermeister, so that was pretty big. I think they got a whole bottle out of that or something. But the long and short of it is Defending Cain is the big fish in a small pond in this area in a lot of ways. One, because they've always loved the hometown. They've always hosted shows. Hollow Light's first show back in March was a Defending Cain show. So they put us on a show that was going to sell out so we would get exposure from people because they liked us. They've always been huge proponents for the area. The show that we're having on the 16th, that is during their guitarist Big J's birthday. And he said there's no other way he'd rather spend his birthday than playing a local show, raising money for Winchester Rescue Mission. That's just the type of dudes they are. Their vocalist, Brandon Wright, runs Wright Live Entertainment, so he books a lot for the tri-state area for the metal scene. If you see the same 10 bands grinding out at 20 different places, it's because he's helping book them. He's helping them push, and he's trying to get them as far as they want to go. and they do that on their own expense. So the first answer is Defending Kane is a POD ripoff band. I'll go on the beef record and say that. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
They cover
But
POD.
They do, and they do it well. But I think the metal scene, like most others in any area, has always been a blue-collar workforce. And there's a lot of factories in this area, and there's a lot of farms in this area, and there's a lot of people that do work with their hands. I mean, not Alistair. Those are very soft hands. But it's just a crowd that appreciates cutting loose and appreciates the music
chin.
and, again, community. So everyone, please chime in. Don't let me take over this whole Josh Off podcast.
Yeah, I will.
But
I'll take over to speak to that as well, saying that it's not even just the bands that make up the scene. It's the people that you see at these 10 shows with the same 10 bands or whatever it happens to be for that weekend. It's the same crowd every single time that you'll see. There's certain people will be there, and they love to come. They live to come to the local shows. That's what they love more than anything, and it's beautiful. Metalhead Donnie.
Dude, Metalhead Donnie.
Metalhead Donnie is... that dude is a G, and if you don't know who Metalhead Donnie is, you need to Instagram search him and see a 72-year-old dude who has more brolic tattoos than anybody sitting in this room put together.
Yes.
This guy's got every local band tattooed on his
Yes,
body.
he does. And,
He's sick.
He's infamous, dude. Like I met him over at Dividing Creek one day. Immediately, I hit up my boy Bone. I'm like, Carbone. I was like, I met this dude, and he's got you see all the portraits on him. And of course, the first thing my buddy puts up, and this is like we've had a one-up contest since 2008 or 2009, depending on who you ask, and he'll understand that joke. But first thing he does is send me a picture of him and Metalhead Donnie at a show at RFK together.
How do you even one up that?
You don't want to know.
Unless you meet like Dave Mustaine or somebody. How do you one up that?
Yo, I met Mrs. Mustaine one night at the 930 Club at True Story at the Rust in Peace tour. That was a cool ass tour because they played the original venues that they played during the Rust in Peace tour. The first time they played the 930 Club, they sold out, but they really only sold like half the show. It was Exodus, Testament, and Megadeth, which have had similar to this. It had interjecting parts in it, and it was just such a rad show. It was super awesome. But it's like really cool to see like how you guys have all. So everybody here is familiar with each other via the industry or social circles, and it's really cool from like an old dude's perspective. Like it's super awesome to see because you guys are like the genesis of a really cool scene that's outside of an urban center. Most places, like you have people that are musicians of this caliber. They go to these urban centers because that's their focus, their goal. It just happens to be that y'all have been brought up in or around here. You have your own lives going on, but at the same time, you still are continuing your passions. And it's like you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And it's cool to see like how a hedged bet's working out because this is a scene that's growing and growing and growing. Like I became friends with like a majority of you on Facebook. And it's just always wild to see in the like section or mutual friends because it's like, whoa, dude, like how does that happen and where does that happen? And it's all love, man. You know, it's and in a lot of scenes too. You see a lot of like hatred and dissing and all that guy. Oh man, he's a one-trick pony, or this dude just wants to be on TV or whatever. But out here, everybody is just pushed. Even in the funny, you know, anecdote you made about like what happened between y'all. It's like they're still all love, and I think that's the really cool part about being out here. Y'all have let me hang out, which is awesome. Like I feel like, you know, the cool uncle used to buy the kids in high school beer so they'd let them hang out at the party. But just a joke. But you know, what you're doing is really cool, man, and keep it up. It's like what I say to a lot of people like that don't live in the area that want to be like, oh well, you're out in the country now. And I'm like, yeah, it's the country, but it's a lot like this is like the beginning of Austin, Texas, before Austin got weird. You guys are making Winchester weird, and I love it, dude. So keep it up, you know. And
yeah, and another thing about the scene that's really nice that I don't know it's common everywhere is that not only are there local bands and they're all willing to play and willing to hang out and willing to support each other, but there's a lot of really good local bands. I mean, there's, you know, thousands and thousands of of bands. Josh is giving me funny looks. There's thousands and thousands of bands out there that are not really all that good, and then we just got lucky that we get like a pretty large group of bands that are all pretty good. It's really nice. It makes it a lot easier to support each other. Like you said, you don't have to worry about that awkward time of like, cool song, man, really, really good stuff. You know, you don't have to have that because so many people are trying so hard. Not that it doesn't happen. I'm kidding.
There's still some of those.
There's still some of those, and that's fine. And sometimes we're some of those. Which
for full disclosure, I still hate Josiah, but I don't feel as bad when I look at his ears. Look at those things.
I got nothing.
Josiah, what kind of martial arts do you study and perform in?
Well, Logan's dad is my jiu-jitsu coach, so just jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Nice.
Him and Logan are so close.
So Logan, you're also talented, but you have retained ears.
I have pretty ears. Yes, very pretty. I've been out of the jiu-jitsu game, so to speak, for a while, relocating and haven't
You
really
gotta
had
climb
time
up
to do
pretty
it.
high to get to those ears, though.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
that's
tall.
right.
Man.
Hey, take what I
You
take what I can get.
a high flying helicopter, Chun-Li type kicks.
So tell me, guys, what is I just looking at music and how it's like diversity of music has changed quite a bit. People's willingness to go out to live shows or even buy albums obviously has changed. The music that all of you do, you probably could categorize each of your bands in some new subcategory or some type of category that might separate your albums in a record store, if they still existed, a digital record store perhaps. So are there still bands that are coming along and finding full-time jobs and careers in metal? I've had a hard time finding any new metal.
Nobody in this. We're all working. Whatever. Yeah, we're all working.
You guys just need to get your merch up, man. I see some of these shirts now are like 50 beans a piece coming out from like
50.
Yeah, man. When you get all that weird writing where you can't read it, it's popping off. There you go, man. So let's talk about branding and all that stuff. So Ashes of Everest, where's that name from?
I don't know. I don't even technically like the name, honestly. I've tried to ask them and change it several times.
We were already established. So Ashes of Everest comes from our guitar player. I'm going to call him the other Tyler because he's not here. So the other Tyler came up with the name Ashes of Everest. So Mount Everest is like the largest natural thing in the world, right? Or like the tallest mountain anyway. So besides Josh's massive pythons. So when the world burns down, Mount Everest is going to be the last thing that burns down. We're going to be the last fucking thing that's standing. We're the Ashes of Everest. So that's where that comes from.
That was really incredible. I feel like we're going to go play football right now.
I just don't, it throws my vibe off.
We got Phantom Hourglass. We got is the nod to the Zelda, and I love that. Like as a nerd, I definitely am a wholehearted fan of that.
Yeah, we're waiting to be sued any day now, so.
That's cool.
Yeah, when we get the cease and desist letter, we know we made it. So.
Then you just go the green jelly. You go green jelly on it. That's it.
What is Hollow Light?
One letter in the whole thing.
Wait, how you guys spell it?
Phantom Hourglass is just the normal spelling, so PHANTOM Hourglass. Yeah.
We might get away with it.
If they want to fight, we'll fight. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
So Hollow Light, again, not to put too much pseudoscience behind it, was a name that Kenny and Kevin and Brandon, the other half of the group, had brought to the table. And we kind of discussed it. We went over it. They liked how it sounded. We all had different feelings about it. One of the consensus we kind of came to is that Hollow Light for us is the empty promise that everything's trying to sell you, right? Like everything in the world has this light at the end of the tunnel. They have this salvation. They have this cream. They have this pill. They have this snake oil. And it's all hollow. None of that shit pans out. It always takes real work. It always takes real time and energy to do something. So for us, Hollow Light is our natural response to getting bombarded with all that bullshit day to day. Every billboard, every ad, every person trying to sell something, every band that's faking an endorsement deal that they don't have, every band that's just trying to get rich and famous and then they'll figure out how to play music later. It all is just so much to see every day. So Hollow Light is literally just us vomiting that back in a way. And we've often said that if everything is a cult, everything is bullshit, then you might as well at least follow ours, So like our Instagram handle is Hollow Light Cult. It's all tongue in cheek. We really don't take ourselves that seriously. But the problem is everyone else really does.
So I want to go back to that one thing, the fake sponsorships. I love that. Oh, hey, thanks to Pearl, for sending us this drum kit. Oh, thanks to Fender for sending it. Yeah, you fucking went on the website and bought that shit, dude. They don't sponsor you.
Is that a thing that's happening?
Thanks for Monster
people do
Energy
that
for
shit all the
sponsoring
time.
our band and sending us a case of Monster that we got at Walmart.
Sweetwater did give me some free candy one time. I'm not going to lie about that. So if you want to call that a sponsorship.
You got a cool sales for it.
Sweetwater still calls me about those picks I bought 10 years ago. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
I got
Um,
I get emails from
Yeah.
the Guitar Center every day.
And the thing is, like, in the negativity of it, I don't want to focus on any local band that's doing it, any regional band that's doing it, any national band that's doing it, because honestly, there's hundreds of them. And what's happening is the same thing you see on social media for everything. You fake it till you make it is one valid way to do it. And there's a lot of bands that will spend $10,000 on a guy to mix a dog shit song so they can say that said $10,000 guy mixed the song. There's bands that will get new merchandise, they'll get new equipment. They're investing in that, right? They're spending their paycheck to get it. And they want to get a little bit more exposure out of it. They want people to see the amount of money that they're putting into things. And one way to do it is to shamelessly tag that brand and hope that the brand interacts with you. But even if the brand doesn't interact with you, some people might think that you are closer with that brand than you are. You know, there are bands out there and you can do it. We're all wearing a band shirt. We're all wearing Vans. You know, people tag that stuff in their family photos. Like, shout out to Vans, wearing some Vans in this photo. I wish I could get some free Vans. And it's no different in the music industry. And again, a lot of these bands are even good in their own accord, but they really, really want to get famous. They, like you said, they want to make a life out of it. They want to put all their eggs in that basket. And one way to do it is to buy likes. One way to do it is to buy views. One way to do it is just to pretend that you've been endorsed by Schecter because you're hoping that they'll look at your photo and go, oh shit, that guy looks badass with that guitar. We should send him more stuff. And again, I'm not hating on the hustle. It's really that there's been a system developed that everyone feels they have to run in this rat race. And it's really difficult. I mean, we're all in that same position right now. Phantom Hourglass has an EP coming out. Hollow Light has an EP coming out. Ashes has an EP coming out. And we have to say to ourselves, do we spend $500 boosting a Facebook ad? Do we make the perfect music video before we put it out? Who do we know at any record label that we could literally bum a favor off of to maybe get seen or heard? And that's not something to scoff at either. I mean, average album costs what, a couple $1,000 to put it together, and you're splitting that between 4 or 5 guys that work regular jobs. Not all of us have, 3 cars, so funding a $5,000 album is no small feat. So again, I get wanting to get return off of that album. But the difficulty is sometimes you lose it and fake it till you make it. And then you look at that band and you do get that hostility. You do get that thing because, there's like 3 outcomes. Like, one, nothing will come of it and you'll be like safe that you laughed at it. The other one is that they'll make it and you'll be either jealous or think that you should start spending all that types of money. Or that it'll just fizzle out. And then ultimately you've got dudes that that spent $20,000 and have nothing to show for it. So it's rough, you know what I mean? But that's why, again, you support the homies that you do. You wear their merch. I mean, we've got Virginia Creep on a shirt here. We've got Followship on a shirt here. We've got Dead Friends from Richmond here on a shirt. You support the homies you do like. You wish everybody the best, and you hope that they maybe do get famous enough to not have to have taken out a loan for that stuff.
Yo, I feel you on that. And I got to talk to that. I got to talk about my man Mike Wingate, Cold World, Ruins. Look him up on Instagram. I've been repping this dude's his clothing line. Check it out. It's a rad shirt. He has a bunch of rad stuff, so I just want to put that out there. But I do want to say it's amazing to see that, number one, your passion. I mean, the way you're very articulate. You're very thoughtful in giving insight to that. Because a lot of dudes will come out and be like, well, we come out here and then the people don't like us because they suck and they should go home and die. And it was just very cool to hear a very insightful thought to that. I think it's awesome to see for me especially, who was a dude who used to hang out and enjoy metal music before the internet, to see an organic element like this and to see something as cool as just a bunch of dudes just bouncing ideas off each other and playing off each other and making it happen. You know what I mean? It's not just like you're putting your money where your mouth is. And that's important because a lot of people will talk a lot of gaga and then they'll just want to go out and they'll put out some sort of weird internet well, I don't like that. But here you are, you're like, hey, listen, you don't like some of this stuff and you voiced that very clearly and that's cool and I can dig it 100%. But to see you guys out here doing it and grinding and putting it out there, just to be real, Justin and I were supposed to have had a very different show tonight. and we had a gentleman and David Peterson, awesome bluegrass guy. We heard him out on the street. He was it was such an awesome performance to hear on the Walking Mall that Justin was like, hey, listen, come out in 2 weeks and do a podcast and then play in the Pearl Lounge, which is our smaller venue next door. And unfortunately, Mr. Peterson had some health issues, couldn't make it tonight. It was 2 p.m. We're at Party City trying to get catering stuff for, burgers for Monoflow, who, are one of our homies too. Monoflow, what's up? But we're out there, and so we're like, call Alistair, and we call Alistair. Alistair gives us the dad voice, like, hey, listen, I'm at work right now. Why are you calling? Is the house on fire? Is the kitten alive? No? Okay, well, don't call me again like this. This is an emergency. And so we got that from him, and then
It's true facts, they did.
2 times. And it's only because he could have just easily ignored with text, which we all have on our phones, but instead he decided to give us the business in front of his colleagues. Yeah, right? And so then I had to appeal to even a higher authority. I was like, all right. I was like, yo, I know Livy, and I know Tyler, Livy's boyfriend, is in Ashes Evers. They're playing. Yo, I'll holler at her, and she'll probably make him do it.
Yeah, so Livy hit me up. She's like, dude, Chris is fucking desperate. Like, you need to help him out. I'm like,
You were the last option.
exactly, yeah. We were last resort, like, to have like a heavy metal podcast. And I was like, dude, I'm there. Like, let me hit one of the boys up in the band, see if he'll come with me.
Yeah, and I feel like it kind of speaks to the scene again, because it's the same thing. It's you tell one person, and then that spider webs out to everyone,
And we all have nothing to do.
That's the thing. And
That's what it really speaks to. It's
man.
like,
yeah,
Short notice.
Michael, you should have been like, yo, you should have said I was on the phone with Capitol Records, but I felt that the local scene needed me enough to make it out for this podcast.
Call off my plans.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll drop my meeting with Spectre Basses and Dark Glass Heads.
Yeah.
He was about to get hit up by Kardashian, and here he is.
Yeah.
That would be a better story for us, but
You know what? If Pete Davis can do it, anybody can do it.
No,
Right?
but I mean, I'm glad to be here. It's sure everybody in the room is. So
It's definitely going to be the heaviest music that we've had here so far. I think that.
Dude, it's the first metal show.
Yeah, for sure.
Mr. Grizzly came out
They're
with some
heavy.
Mastodon, like
Mr. Grizzly's fucking
they start
heavy
with
shit.
Mastodon, they end with Fish. That was such a cool show to see.
Look, man, heavy music for me is like, all right, you can give me an instrumental metal record all you want, but until someone puts the human experience of words and pain into like the hemisphere that we're living in here, then it resonate to me as heavy music. I don't know why. It's great music. I could listen to instrumental metal while doing accounting, the same that I can with jazz, but I can't. If you put a vocalist on, I can no longer do it, because then I'm like sucked into whatever pain, anguish, love, whatever. So that circles back to this really question I really want to get out while I have all you guys here. So I used to write music that was sad and in agony of teenage years, right? And that's when my people of my genre of the world in my age bracket, you're Stained, Deftones kind of emerged, some of the Tool stuff really kind of came out, and that's like there's emotional stuff, but you can sing it with harmony, melody, and whatnot. And then the guys that I would write music with are now, I'm 39, so they're either early 40s, maybe mid 30s. The dudes that were banging out metal are now banging out a lot of country,
right,
bluegrass.
Don't worry, we've all considered it.
So you're sustaining your direction, dude.
Bluegrass tried to kill
But you're staying in that. You're staying in your lane. So like, I know we're talking about business. So Josh was referring to peer-to-peer marketing, which is when you wear or embrace something and that you then share with your peers, and that's just natural marketing, right? It's more than gaining impressions just from being funded. The humans are doing it viral and naturally. So, like, what is an example of? And I'd love for the odds are low that one of you guys are going to be touring in a band anytime soon with a great advance, but it isn't out of the realm of possibility. It's just a numbers
It's a strong
game.
possibility, JT. Come on, man.
No, honestly. So there comes a time where it's not about that. But is there examples lately of artists that are getting to that level, so they get those nice advances. They're able to recoup and then continue on. I personally don't know any examples of metal bands that are emerging right now. Maybe that's because they're not finding me, or I'm not finding them. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. Is anybody
What's
in
that band everyone likes? Turnstile.
Yeah.
Well, like not.
No, speak to it.
Yeah,
So,
so, like-
honestly.
Like them since their first album, bro. Come on.
That's your problem, dude, not mine. I don't, they're okay, but
We're late to the
It's
party.
because haters are gonna hate.
it's
That's
a.
why.
It feels
Haters don't
like
hate.
it's like a lot of lottery is like a lot of luck is into it, but then I mean you like all the people that are in like touring bands that are making a big impact. Like there's a lot of work involved into it that until you're ready to like take the jump and do it, you just better sit at home.
But don't you feel too like, especially in like the special niche markets and the smaller genres of metal, that as soon as somebody starts making it, so to speak, it doesn't matter how awesome they are. Like Slipknot, for instance. Like Slipknot, those guys are awesome. Those guys are great musicians. You guys can argue with me all day.
Nope, no argument.
Those guys,
Slipknot's good, dude.
They're great. Listen, you guys know way better than I do, but because they're Slipknot, immediately there's a lot of these young, or not even young. There's a lot, especially
4
old.
years ago.
But that's the thing. Is like, do you feel that maybe the success gets ultimately hindered by the success? Does that make sense?
To maybe an extent. I mean, for the point of like you can't at the point you can't tarnish your image with releasing certain material that would be deemed
Out of the genre.
something offensive.
But I'm talking about when it comes to like sales and merch and like success like that, where it becomes a mainstream thing. I mean, there's been certain brands that absolutely, like Slayer is absolutely they could be on anybody's t-shirt, and they're ultimately
Slayer's a clothing brand now.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Hey, listen, man, that's how. Yeah, but ultimately too, in a business structure, I was about to ask, what type of merch y'all gonna be bringing out? I want to get some merch out this show, and I think that like really, you guys, yeah, I think one of the things that we've seen here for success for the artists has been like when they've had the merch table set up more specifically and to gear towards the fans, and bring out some cool, like bring out the very cool silk screen shirts, like the very limited run stuff. I got a shirt once, and I'm sure one of you guys probably did. This is that Blue Diamond Tattoo Collective when it was on Royal Avenue in Front Royal. Were you there? It was a Ominous Gloom show.
It was Gloom Doom, and I think Kill the Car was there,
Kill
right?
The Car. Yeah, it was Kill the Car.
Yeah.
Probably one of their last shows, if not the last show.
It's probably up there with one of their last shows.
Yeah, it was awesome. But I got an encasing.
Country Tonks album release party. That's what that was, right?
Yes, it was. And I'll tell you two things. I got the only small tattoo I ever got in my life. It was awesome. And
Was it a Kill the Car tattoo?
Nah, man, it is this TCOB. Shout out John Hudson, the guy. He takes the needle to me a lot of times. But it was such a cool show, and I got this awesome Encasing Embrace shirt. And if you guys know these guys, please holler at them and see if I get another one. It was in purple print. It was so awesome. But you guys, and that's the thing, to touch on that is like, for me, it's like some of the merch makes those memories tangible. And it's not just a revenue stream. Like, and the cooler the stuff you bring, like I think the more likely that people are willing to shed their dollars. Also come with your QRC, because nobody carries cash anymore, and there's no way that nobody could say no if they have a phone on them and you have a QRC. You know what I mean?
We're hit.
Yeah. Everybody's got
We're hip with it.
Yeah, we're hip.
Venmo,
And-
Cash App,
Yeah,
whatever
Cash
it's got to
App,
be. Yeah,
Venmo,
we have it all.
Yeah.
So basically, I didn't get an answer fully. Are there any good examples of artists in the genre of metal that are coming out, finding success so that they can do that as a full-time job? I really haven't been either looking for you or hearing from you since like early 2000, like mid 2005 to 10 was about the time I stopped. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on because I've been too busy working.
From ashes to new. From ashes.
I feel like you're answering your own question because you're not looking for it. If you're not looking for it, then you're not going to find it. It's kind of like the EDM scene. If you know like the big like like heads like Bass Nectar, which I mean he got canceled, but like Cish and all them. But if you're not into it, you don't really know it because you're not looking it out. But if you're into EDMC, there's like so many people that are getting are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're just not that level yet.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, there is a meteoric rise that's impossible to ignore, though. Spirit Box really broke loose in 2020, 2021, and Courtney and her husband, the guitarist, were in a band before that called I Wrestled a Bear Once.
Oh, I heard.
Super technical, super weird time signature, super deathcore, metalcore, noisecore. Amazing band. She is an amazing screamer. And in that band, she was the quintessential female screamer at that time. Like, really set some bars. And Spirit Box came out of that. And her and her husband have a studio in their home. And they wrote several albums as Spirit Box without breaking loose. But around 2020, 2021, they put, again, all their eggs in the basket. They got signed. They appealed to crowds of every type of metal. From their old school hardcore fans with I Wrestled a Bear Once all the way up to they have songs that have no screaming on them. And I think that meteoric rise is proof again, one, that women in metal have a huge place and always should have a fucking place. And two, that you can get so big that it's hard to deny. And they have immediately jumped on tours with huge bands. They've been with Bring Me the Horizon. They've been with a lot of other titans in the industry. And if you didn't know their backstory of previous bands they were in, you would wonder where the hell they came from. So to answer your question, they grinded in 2 to 3 different bands and then finally broke loose. And then another one, like Jamichael mentioned earlier, Turnstile is from Baltimore. And Turnstile released albums since 2009, 2010 maybe 2011. I'm lying at this point. Nonstop Feeling, Bleach Temple. They had a lot of stuff, a lot of deep cuts, and they are quintessential Baltimore hardcore. But they're quick. Their lyric style is positive. It's well written. Their guitarists are fantastic. Will Beasley recorded one of their first EPs. He's a guy from this area in Richmond, and he's recorded a lot of cool bands and watched a lot of cool bands break loose. And he said that they literally would nail any of their songs on their first EPs in one take. They'd listen to it and be like, all right, how do we fuck with this? This is too boring. We need to continue to work on this. We need to be having fun with this. And it was so evident in those EPs that they had already mastered the style of hardcore that they were just fucking playing with it. That by the time their latest album came out, which is Glow On, they broke loose. They have a show at Anthem in a couple months, and I'm going to it. It's sold out, and they've went from playing 200-person hole-in-the-wall places in Baltimore to playing the closest 5,000 cap venue they can play in the DC area. And hand to God, if they put on 2 shows, they'll sell out both of them.
Well, I mean, it's like what kind of Knocked Loose? They're going crazy, right?
It's another one. Knocked Loose will be in September. They will be at the Fillmore in Silver Springs, Maryland, and that is like a 2,500 cap venue. And before that, I saw them at Soundstage, which was a 750 cap venue. And before that, I saw them at Autobar, which is a 300 cap venue. Right. So, like you said, some of these bands in a 3-year period, 2-year period, whatever you want to call a meteoric rise, have climbed. And I'm sure that the Fillmore will sell out in September for that band. And that they are, to this day, a quintessential hardcore band. I mean, heavy as shit. They're not going for radio play. This function for Spirit Box and Turnstile, they've hit radio in some ways in some of their singles, but Knocked Loose is not for the radio. And they're still finding 3,000 people to come to a show.
Yeah, they'll be.
But like, I think what he was saying was like, you know, who locally is like breaking out though, man? Because like I feel like unless you're quitting your day job and moving to Baltimore or DC or Richmond, like who's breaking out?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I was thinking about. Is like as far as breaking out, the reason why maybe we're not seeing as many or not as aware of them in the local scene is because it's a tough balance. Because a lot of us we all have real jobs, and then we have our. It's not a hobby. We'd like it to be our real job, but it's music. It's a secondary thing. And the change that happens is if you get to a point where you don't have to do your real job, then you can dedicate 10, 12, 16-hour days to just music. So you go from just good enough to not have to work to top of the food chain because you have so much more time you get to be able to dedicate to that. It's tough to dedicate a 12-hour day when you work an 8-hour day already, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of a struggle, but, you know, I feel like that's what we're all here doing is grinding to the point where we can just get a little bit more free time to be able to do that kind of thing.
Right. If the question that you're asking too is who do you think has potential? Again, I'm wearing a Dead Friends shirt. They're from Richmond. They are amazing metalcore, rock and roll. Hard to deny. They're Set for Tomorrow is good. They're from
really
Richmond.
Big things at the moment. Yeah.
Good guys. You've got
Ashes of Everest.
Big things coming soon.
Voices. They're from Frederick.
Halford Voices from Frederick.
Yeah, I talked to their guitar player Dylan recently. He within the last year he quit his job. It's not for everybody, but he quit his job. Had a good job. Got a van, started traveling. They got new merch, songs, videos, guitar playthroughs. Q&As, bunch of stuff.
Destructive Disc from Richmond.
Destructive Disc is
Destructive Disc is from Winchester originally, just moved to Richmond, run their own record label.
I've heard Voices.
Yeah,
They have a
they
beer
got their own beer. Yeah,
I don't
Those
care
people
about a
work
beer.
hard.
Everyone's got a beer. There's a brewery. What? There. There's 10 breweries here,
yeah,
dude.
they
Chill.
just work hard though.
Absolutely never.
If you guys can, you guys, we gotta wrap this up here soon. About soon, like within like a minute or so. So if you guys given like plug your stuff in, like name, SoundCloud, Instagram, I don't know, all that shit.
July 29th.
July 29th, we have an EP release for Phantom Hourglass. Yeah, we're everywhere. Spotify, Facebook, all that.
July 16th, come check out the Monument. It's going to be who all's the band? So it's Ashes of Everest, Hollow Light, Kaluna, Phantom Hourglass, Defending Kane. Dude, all these bands are headliners. Like, all these bands kill it. Like, all these bands headline shows. And if I could handpick a show right now from local metal bands, this would be it.
I agree.
Like, how do you even top this show? Come out. If you don't, you're losing.
Well, that's the plug I want to make sure we make is Kaluna will be on the show. They're working on their Obelisk EP. They're already releasing singles from their next upcoming album. Defending Kane always has some EP and 26 shirts and 4 CDs to sell for it, and they do. You want to talk about merch game? When Defending King comes, they have a full flight case that they open into a mobile merch station. They do custom drum heads. They do custom sticks. They give away stuff from their shows. They gave away tickets to festivals to celebrate their 100th show. Awesome. Defending King is quintessential on the merch game, and in good reason, with no jokes. Don't sleep on that merch. So if I had to plug anyone, it's going to be Kaluna and Defending Kane, who are not here with us right now.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming, guys. We really appreciate it. Very last minute. We're looking forward to hosting our first but not last metal show. Do what you can to promote. We'll have great hospitality here, plenty to eat, drink, whatever you need to do.
Do you guys have no concessions, or you have no concessions?
No.
We make no concessions when it comes to quality service and overall experience. Our hospitality is focused first and foremost on our artists so that they can provide great entertainment value for our guests. So everybody who's come and played music here so far has talked about how they felt welcomed, like family, catered to, taken care of, from the accoutrements that Chef comes up with on his, is it mise en place? Is that how you say it?
Mise en place.
Oh, yeah. And then from the way, hospitality is given and so forth. And we just want people to know that they can come here and be entertained no matter what. Outlaw country, bluegrass, metal, EDM, whatever it is, man. We want to welcome all people. So thanks again. Appreciate
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, dudes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Shoo, gotta piss.
Dude,
Getting into a great conversation, him.